Well, hello everybody, it's John Schneider and welcome to another edition of Jersey Bayshore Country. This is going to be a very interesting edition because one of the things that the Bayshore is famous for is its clams. And we've done some episodes on clams before, but we haven't really talked about the business of clamming, harvesting clams. And with me today is my special guest whose primary job is to make clams happy, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Kevin, what do you do at the clam plant, as it were, and talk to us a little bit about clams.
I'm the operations manager at the J2Y Clam Plant. Basic depuration is what we have to do to all the clams around here to eat them, except for a small section of area in the waters now.
From the time a clammer, or a digger, as they say, brings the clams to the James T. White Depuration Plant in Highlands, New Jersey, what's the process for making the clam happy? And then what's the difference between a clam that ain't so happy and a clam that's happy when they leave the plant?
We have to wash them, clean them. We put them into a 30 bushel insert that goes into the water for 48 hours. We pump fresh seawater over the top of it. It's a closed system, which basically means that we're taking water from the river into our reservoir tanks, and we recirculate it through UV lights. UV lights kill all the bacteria in the water on the first pass through. The clams just sit there purging what they do naturally. They filter the processed water, and they purge out what's ever in their guts. The second time through, it kills all the bacteria that they had through them. The process is actually done for 24 hours, but for safety standards, they have us running for 48. And right now, our regulations are stiffer than the federals, the state of New Jersey, that is. We wait for the 24-hour bacterial test to come back, then we're shipping them right out over certified.
And the entire time that they're in the plant, they are alive, right?
They are alive.
Are there any fatalities ever? I mean,
there are some that die. The weaker clams that weren't taken care of on the water,
right,
or just something that just sometimes there's win or death.
Or they might be sensitive clams that are suicidal because they're in the clam plant and they don't want to go to the restaurant, right? So clams are a bivalve. Have you learned a lot about clams since you've started doing this job?
Yeah, I've learned I knew a lot more before, but yeah, I'm still learning.
And other than some people love them, some people hate them, some people are allergic to them, where do you stand on them? Do you like them?
I like them roasted on the grill.
Really? How often do you eat clams?
Once a month or so.
Really? So what are the different kinds of clams that one can find, and where do you find them?
Well, there's 4 or 5 different types of clams you can find around here. You can find a lot of soft shells, which we all grew up eating. They're all along the sandbars up and down the river. They're just starting to come back. We actually found a small patch of them, so you might see a few in the markets around here.
Okay.
If not, there's some guys selling the open water clams actually in the bars. We have the regular hard clams, which is what our primary object is, regular hard clams. It's 4 different grades, little necks, which everybody eats on a half shell.
So they're
little neck's about 1.5 inches across the side.
Like that. Okay, yeah. What's the next one?
Next one's the top neck, which is about the size of the palm of your hand.
Oh, okay, like that.
Which is the size I like. They cook up real good on the grill.
Okay, good. Okay, you gonna give us a recipe later? I just throw them on the grill, right?
I throw them in a lasagna pan.
Nice.
Can of beer, some water.
Oh, listen to you. But you don't do this on the job. And what's the third classification?
We have cherry stones, which basically you make stuffed clams casino out of.
Now, are they bigger than the palm of the hand? So they get a little
about
bit
the size of your fist.
All right, and then what's the other size?
And you have chowders, which basically is soup clams.
So chowders are a little bit bigger, and they're older because they're bigger, right? How do you harvest clams?
It's hard work.
I mean, you use a rake, right? And tell us about the rake. What do you do? How deep does it go? And
it goes about 4 inches into the dirt. It's like taking a steel rake in your backyard, stepping on it in sand, and trying to pull it through the dirt. It's not easy.
Right, and in the raking of clams, these clammers pull up all kinds of things. I mean, there's what are they, blood clams? And,
it's ponderosa bloods.
And there's like little conch shells and mussels.
A little bit of conchs.
We have clammers out all over the waterways. It could be Raritan Bay, Sandy Hook Bay, Shrewsbury River, Navesink River, and the ocean, of course. Where is everybody's favorite place to find clams these days?
Well, most of them are staying off Officers Row inside the hook, and they're actually off the rock wall. You'll see a lot of guys in Atlantic Highlands.
What's the level of experience? Do you have old timers, young folks? What's that?
I've got kids from 24 years old to John Decker's, I think, 82.
Wow. And John Decker's been doing this for a long time, hasn't he?
Since he was a kid.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, let's talk to John Decker. John Decker's been around doing this stuff since he was a kid. Let's go out on his boat and see what he has to say.
Have to remember 1960, there was a hepatitis scare, and I was a young man on his way up. I was doing very well, and they closed the water down. They closed the bay down. The bay was pretty much closed for the most part of 20 years. And of course, when they opened it and the depuration started and so on, and the relay started, a lot of these young fellows thought, this is the way it is, man. This is, but it wasn't always that way. We had some tough years, but it attracts a vast circle of men. Some men that just want to work a day or two. Some men that are very, very diligent, and you have a great mix of types of individuals. But it's kind of like a gold rush thing. If you strike clams and things, it's a thrill, and if you can get enough of them before everybody else jumps on them. But my highest day was, and that was down, not here, it was in Barnegat Bay, and that was 20 bushels. And that was using hand rake only, no assist of any kind. It was a big day. And I think at that time it was, because of the size of the clams, it may have been 7,500 clams, something like that. And which, of course, these young guys here today can make that look probably pretty sick. They did for a while anyway. Basically, it's an adventurous life. It's also it's money. You're making an extra. It gives you a chance to make a hit. And that's what it's all about. And of course, you have a lot of downtime where you don't, like if I don't go out today, I don't make anything. And if you don't go out, you don't make anything. You don't get paid anything. You have to go get it. And that's what's good about it. It keeps you on your toes.
So people like John Decker, or at least today, how do you get started as one of these clam harvesters?
I got 4 guys that actually started working inside the plant.
Yeah.
They work there for a year or two, then they'll just decide I want to try and go clamming. So we'll start putting them on some of the boats with some of the guys who need. They'll take them on, teach them how to call clams, how to dig clams. Then if they go enough and they want to do it, we'll try and get them a digger number.
Sure. And how do these guys get paid? How do they make money? What's their relationship to the association?
Well, they get paid by the clam. It doesn't matter whether you're in the association or not. You get paid by the clam after I think it's 28 days, because we run our own bank. Instead of paying interest, we'll run our own bank. We'll pay you in 4 weeks.
So they're not employees, they're members. Does this mean this is sort of like a profit sharing organization?
No. There is no profit, there is no sharing. You get paid for what you dig.
Okay. And how often do the clammers get paid?
They get paid for every week. They get paid.
And do clammers work around the clock, day after day throughout the year, or is there a definite season for clams?
Well, summer season is when the markets are heaviest and everybody goes clamming. But we go 12 months a year. If the water's not frozen, we're going clamming.
And this is a hard profession and a dangerous profession. Yeah. You've lost clammers, haven't you?
We've lost 4 guys in the last 20 years.
My gosh. And what is some of the danger associated? Is it just bad weather, high surf, and that sort of thing?
It's a combination of the weather and the surf, but usually when we do have a big problem, it's in the wintertime. You get a boat that just can't keep up with it with full load. If it goes down before you're ready for it, you're not going to last long in 32-degree water.
We did a program on clamming and talked to Richie Gardner a while ago, and Richie said it's back-breaking work. It's like digging a ditch. He says you can work as much as you want and make as much as you want. Do some guys make a lot of money?
Not a lot.
No? Like, what's the average that you might expect to get if you work a moderate amount of time?
Typical middle class income. You're looking at same as you're getting for carpenters, a little bit better, but you have to pay your own expenses. I mean, a clam rake is $300 now. Poles are $40 a piece. An outboard's $20,000.
And they have to supply all their own
They supply
equipment.
their own equipment.
So do people that become clammers or diggers, do they stay in it for life usually, or does somebody come in and go, "Oh, this ain't for me. I'm getting out of this profession right away"?
There's a lot of guys who come in and bail real fast.
Do they really?
They all hear the dollars in the stores. It's like every other fish store. I made so much. I want to do that too. Well, it's all well and good until you get on the boat and you got to jump on a rake and pull that rake.
Are there some guys that have just, it's been in their family and they just have carried on the tradition, or is it all new guys?
A lot of guys are second, third, fourth, fifth generation.
Really?
clammers.
My gosh. And what was the history of James T. White? I know you're not a historian for the plant, but who was James T. White, and when did it come into being, and what did we do to decorate clams before the plant?
Well, Jimmy White's an ex-mayor of Highlands. He was also a third grade teacher up in the school, so he taught a lot of us not only how to read and write, but he taught a lot of us how to dig clams. You're laughing, but it's true. He taught a lot of kids how to make a living.
And what did clammers do before the plant to decorate clams?
There was 2 soft shell decoration plants that were in Highlands from the late 70s through the 80s. The J.T. White plant was formerly Twin Light Seafood. They shut that down in the late 80s.
Are there a number of plants throughout the country that decorate clams?
You have 5 plants in this country that decorate clam. Actually, 4 that decorate clams, 1 that decorates oysters. Only 2 of them are privately owned. The rest of them are all owned by the state.
Okay. So all of these plants throughout the country, are we competitive with them?
We produce more clams than the rest of them combined.
Really? And so and I noticed on some of the marketing materials that we bill ourselves as the only clam plant that really can provide clams without sand.
Yeah.
Can you, because you're an aficionado of happy clams, can you tell the difference when eating a happy clam versus a clam that might be a little sandy?
You don't find out until you get it in your mouth.
Well, that's what I mean.
Can you get a mouthful of sand, and it's the worst thing you'll ever get.
You can tell. So if somebody's eating an unhappy clam, it's probably because it has sand.
Sand, and you do the smell test. If it doesn't smell like salt water, don't go near it.
So when the clams are processed and made happy again, you sort them into the sizes, and some of the really small ones get rejected because they're not going anywhere. And you then do what with the clams? Where do they go?
Well, the ones we throw back, the ones that are too small.
Right, and what about the others?
The other ones, they all get bag tagged and shipped out really all over the country at this point.
Now, what is the relationship? Because this has been an industry in Highlands for a while, right? I mean, this has been we've had clammers since
Day one.
Day one. I mean, well, what is day one? Is day one 100 years ago? Or
the Indians ate the clams.
The Indians, the Lenape Indians were the first clammers, and they probably didn't use the sophisticated equipment we use. Those rakes, right? I don't get it. Why are the clammers using rakes when there's probably lots of other sophisticated ways to bring clams up from the surface?
Federal and state laws say we cannot use mechanical means to harvest the clams.
We need lobbyists. Isn't that backbreaking work? Have you ever done that? Have you ever raked clams?
Yeah, it's backbreaking work. I'd rather not do it again.
And how many clams do these clammers deliver to the docks of the James T. White plant?
This year we're on target of doing about 16 million clams.
16 million clams. My gosh. How many clammers are out there? How many diggers work for you?
Between 45 and 55 at any given time.
Now, they are members of an association, right?
It's the Bayman's Protective Association.
Bayman's
Protective
Association. And what are they protecting?
Their basic main goal is protect the bay.
Okay. And they're out all the time, and some people work harder than others, right?
Yes.
What is a day in the life of an average digger? How when do they get to the plant? When do they go out? When do they come back? And what's the average basket full of clams they bring back?
Well, they get there usually right around sunrise, because we're not allowed to put the rakes in the water until sunrise.
Oh, okay.
The legal sunrise.
Gotcha.
So usually by then they're usually up 2 hours before sunrise. You got to fuel the boats, get everything ready, pick your baskets up at the plant, get on your boat, and it takes you a half hour to get out to where you're going anyway.
Wow. And then they rake, and they go out with a certain number of bushels. Do they decide how many bushels they want?
Well, there's 3 different. Well, they do decide how many they want. When we're slow in the wintertime, you grab what you think you can fill.
Yeah.
In the summertime, baskets get a lot tighter because a lot of guys come back, and it's more regulated on who gets how many baskets.
So how many baskets are sitting against the wall at the clam plant right now? I mean, not now, but in the morning before they get there.
200. I'm allowed 240 bushels a day.
And who says that? The government?
That's the state government.
So every bushel contains, depending upon the size of the clam,
Between
about how many?
150 to 800 clams a bushel.
Okay, 100. And so how is the harvesting? Are we harvesting enough? Are we harvesting too little, too much? What do you think?
Right now, I mean, the storm did a lot of damage to the bottom and it's just starting to come back. Clams are very good at creating more clams. It just takes certain amount of time. It takes 4 years for a clam to grow out to market value.
Right.
And we can do it faster here than a lot of the other places because of the flow and the food and the food sources and water. So they do grow faster here, but it still takes time.
Now we used to have oysters in Raritan Bay, and we had lots and lots of oysters, and they all sort of disappeared, didn't they?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any theory for why they all just disappeared? Do you think it was pollution or?
Pollution was part of it, but a lot of it is the bottom silt up. A clam can go up and down in the dirt to survive. An oyster, once it's buried, it suffocates.
Really? So oysters are less mobile than a clam. Clams can kind of scoot around and socialize with the clams, but the oysters are just kind of stuck,
Yeah,
right?
they're stuck in a rock.
And have you seen any oysters at all in the raking? Has anybody pulled one up?
There's a few out there. You can still pull up a few patches here and there. Not a lot that are coming up in the rakes.
Right.
Most of the oysters you get right now are the ones transplanted by all the groups that are growing their own oysters.
Right. So what is the relationship? How many clammers do you have again?
I've got 70 in the membership.
70 in the membership. And talk to me about the membership, because I'm a little bit confused about the relationship between a clammer and the James T. White Depuration Plant, and then Certified Clam, which is your sales and marketing arm. How does that all work?
Well, 90% of our clammers are members of the Baymen's Protected Association. The other 10% are local clammers and guys who didn't join in. A lot of them want to become members right now because, I mean, we're not the last plant standing, but we're the ones that actually work the most.
Sure.
We're here basically to put the clammers to work, so we'll take a hit to make sure they can go out and make a day's pay, even in the rough weather.
So is the association a non-profit organization? Is it supposed to?
The BPA is nonprofit. JT White's an LLC, but we are geared to run it nonprofit. And certified is for profit, but again, it's owned and operated by the Baymen's Protected Association. So all our profits go back to the clam prices.
And what is the relationship between the James T. White Depuration Plant and Certified Clam, which is on Bay Avenue in Highlands, New Jersey?
Well, Certified is our base, our marketing, and our sales arm. When we first took the plant over from the ex-owners, we weren't allowed to have two sets of tags in one plant. So we had to form our own company to run a second company.
That sounds very complicated.
Welcome to the state of New Jersey.
So if it wasn't for the state regulations, this could be all under one roof, the plant, the sales arm, the merchandising arm, etc.
Yeah.
And so can I, as a resident of the Jersey Bayshore, knock on the door of Certified Clam and buy a bag?
Yes.
Really?
We break them down. We sell them out here all the time.
So I think that's something you ought to consider. So you can knock on this door and buy a bag of clams, and you can buy one of the 4 or 3 varieties. 4
different sizes. A lot of guys will come in here buy chowders just for bait.
Really? I had no idea. And what about the proverbial clam dance? I think we've all done it. And that is where you kind of wade out into the river or into the bay, and you take your feet and you do this, and you go down until you hit something hard with the soles of your feet, and lo and behold, it's a clam or two, and you reach down and pull it up, and there it is. Can I take that clam and go home and eat it?
In certain areas you can at certain times of the year.
Do I need a license?
Yes, you do.
Oh, really? How do I get a license for doing this?
Call the state and they'll notify you exactly where you can pick up a commercial or a residential clam license.
So a residential clam license for somebody who just wants to do the clam dance is what? How much do you think
about
that?
$25.
About $25. I mean, that seems worth it to do the clam dance. Everybody should do it at least once in their life. But if you can't decorate it, and you want to decorate it because why? Because the clams are what?
They're not bad, but the problem is you run into the water's clean enough. to swim in, but it's not clean enough to eat a clam directly out of.
So you wouldn't want to drink the water unless you boiled it or
Yeah.
something. So it's the same thing with the clam. So how do you get the clam a little more purified if it hasn't been to your plant?
There really is no way. You just at certain times of year, the waters are generally cleaner. The warmer the water, the more bacteria you're going to have.
Right.
So they'll take the areas between Rocky Point up in Navesink River and between the Oceanic Bridge. They'll consider that open water. And then between November and I think it's the beginning of May, you can actually go open water there and just take them right out of the bottom, take them home with you.
Now, if you cook the clams, if you boil them or something like
Won't have
that,
a problem with
you
them.
won't have a problem. So when you put them on the barbecue, if you did the clam dance and didn't take a clam from the plant, you could barbecue them and you'd destroy any kind
Yeah,
of...
that wouldn't have a problem at all.
And in theory, what's in the water that everybody's concerned about? Besides bacteria, what causes
It's
the bacteria?
fecal coliform is what it actually
Okay,
is.
so fecal, for those of you at home that don't know what fecal coliform is, it's poop, right?
Yes.
Is it human poop primarily?
No, it's more animal at this point, but we still have too many sewer plants that do have problems.
Really? Who's pooping in the Bayshore? I want to know. What to say. We may have to cut this out, but you know, the clams are safe. If you love clams, you ought to eat them.
Well, we have a private company that comes in and tests every process we have. That's my biggest expense next to labor.
How often does that happen?
Every process is tested. It's by law.
Okay.
The state regs are stiffer than the.
But is that monthly? Is that a monthly test that needs
It's
to
a
happen?
daily test.
It's a daily test. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Kevin, from the time a clammer delivers his or her bushels on the dock and they get wagoned away and then they get washed and they get processed and they're in the plant for a few days, how long does it take before that clam is delivered to the dock versus being eaten by somebody in a restaurant?
We figure we get our clams out the door hopefully within 24 to 48 hours to our customers. So most of our clams, when you're eating them at the local restaurant, they're no long. I would say give it 3 days old. That's it.
What about in the Jersey Bayshore? We have a lot of seafood restaurants in the Jersey Bayshore. A lot of seafood restaurants right here in the Highlands. Do we have a lot of customers at the Jersey Bayshore that buy the certified clams?
Yes, we do have a bunch of them to do by here.
That's fantastic. I did not know that the clams, when they are delivered to the James T. White Depuration Plant, they're alive. While they're being processed, they're very happy and they're alive and they're cuddling up to each other and that sort of thing. When they're put in cold storage for just within 24 hours of being shipped out, they're alive. And when they get to the restaurant, they're alive. And when you eat them, they are alive. Have you ever heard a clam scream?
No, I haven't.
Really?
They do make noise if they're on the boats too long. They'll just spit and makes a noise. We actually have.
Really? Can you can? I'd like to record that. You hear? What does it sound like? A squeak or?
No, it's just basically you just hear them like trying to spit water. It's like bubbling water coming out of something.
Really? My God, that's frightening. So clams are amazing. Do you ship any clams overseas?
We haven't shipped overseas in a year or two, but we used to ship to China, Europe, all over the place.
Yeah. Why would we do that? Do they not have their own clams over in China? Or?
Our clam, it's a different type of clam, and a lot of it has to do with the meat. The amount of meats comes out.
Right.
And the European clams, I hate to say it, but I wouldn't eat them. They have bigger problems with sewer systems than we do.
Have you ever had a clam as a pet?
Actually, I have had them in the fish tanks.
You've had clam? What, a saltwater fish tank?
Yeah.
Seriously? How do they do in the saltwater fish tank?
They do pretty good.
Do you ever see them trying to bury themselves?
They always try. If you throw a clam in the sand, it'll flip right up and try and get in the bottom.
Really?
You can watch. It takes about a half hour.
All right, so we've just discovered a new hobby at the Bayshore. Get yourself a tank, a saltwater tank, and put a couple of clams in it. Will they multiply?
They can.
Kevin, thanks so much
No
for
problem.
joining us. I appreciate it. Well, that's going to end another episode of Jersey Bayshore Country. I hope you've enjoyed this program. It's always a thrill. And if you see me out there, maybe I'm doing the clam dance, maybe I'm flying a drone, maybe I'm having lunch. I don't care. Tap me on the shoulder, say hello, introduce yourself. I would like that because nothing is more important than meeting you. That's it for us. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
I'm just grateful to be able to get out there and to be able to make a week's pay and to be able to be able to do the job. Of course, you can't do it like you could as a young man. That's not. Are you going to kill yourself to try to prove yourself? I don't think so. I eat clams in a chowder, or very rarely, and the same thing when I lobster fished. I never garnered a taste for lobster or anything. I like just going and getting them, and I like clam chowder. But other than that, I never eat raw clams or anything. It's not because I think there's anything wrong with them, it's just because I just never acquired that taste. But I just like going and getting them. That's it.
What is it about it? Is it kind of an adventure? Is it the hunt? What is it about going for clams that you enjoy?
Well, it attracts every kind of man. In other words, the same thing as logging or longshoring. I worked on the docks for a while too. It attracts a vast circle of men. Some men that just want to work a day or two. Some men that are very, very diligent, and you have a great mix of types of individuals. I was on a tuna clipper also as a young man, but and that was an adventure also. But it has a draw to it.
I'm amazed at how many people walk down here and have no clue we're here. I mean, this is people who've been in town for a decade or two, have no clue we have a clam plant. They have no idea that Highlands was built on clams.